Gonna hit uptown. I feel like I've drowned. Gonna hit uptown.
Good morning, happy Friday. It's a beautiful day here in West Des Moines, and I hope everybody's looking forward to the weekend. So we created a poll. It's the first time we've done this, and just to see what everybody has, or what their experience has been with Patrick Lencioni's the Five Dysfunctions of a Team, or the 5 behaviors that he's created. So let's see, we've got a good mix. We've got experience the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team program. Someone's got limited knowledge, or I like the excitement, tell me more. And by the way, this is Dana Anir, Michelle's sidekick. She'll be joining us later. I'm going to get us started here. So thank you for creating the poll. All right. So just a couple tips here to get us started if you've never been on one of our Zoom webinars. You can zoom in and zoom out or show content in full screen mode. If you want to send us a message or anybody else, click the chat at the bottom of your screen and type in all panelists and all attendees so we can all see what you're typing. And then audio settings, you can either use your computer audio or call in using the number that was in the email. So we do these webinars once a month, every third Friday of the month, because we'd like to deliver some monthly motivation and expose you to some of our programs and products that we have. So today's agenda, we're excited to introduce you to Wiley's newest learning assessment, the 5 behaviors personal development, which is based upon Patrick Lencioni's model, the 5 behaviors. The materials you should have in hand that I sent out: the 5 behavior personal development sample profile, a program description, me to we, your impact on a team, and then the 2019 Free Friday webinar schedule. And we encourage you to share all of this with friends, family, or anybody you work with that may be interested in some monthly motivation. And after leaving the webinar, please take a couple minutes to complete the evaluation. That helps us determine how we're doing, for one. And then we're working on the 2020 schedule, so we are open to suggestions for next year. So Patrick Lencioni developed the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. That's a book that he wrote. And then Wiley Learning Programs developed the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. And we already asked who is familiar with that. And so we are anxious to tell you more for those of you who are not familiar. The 5 behaviors model is very powerful for all organizations. It helps address critical needs of a team and how they impact the organization. It provides a common language, so every day during work they have a common language to work to help them be more effective. And it creates high-performing teams. So the teams understand what the goals are, and it helps them become more cohesive. So if anybody has ever been through the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team program, you know that it is intense, because what the program involves is the teams working together to get to know one another on a much deeper level. And it takes time. Changes don't happen overnight, if you know. So it takes time investment to be really focused on making your team better. And there is a little bit of a financial investment, of course, but it's all well worth it when you have results at the end. And there is substantial impact to the organization because everybody's working towards the same results. However, as you know, organizations are not working the same way they used to. There's some disruptions in the marketplace because we've got a very tight job market or unemployment market. There are multi-generations within the organization. So work is not the same that it used to be. So we're having to identify ways to make organizations continue being successful. In the past, you probably are used to working within a department, so you have the same team that you work with on a daily basis. However, now you may be working more on different committees or overlapping and working in different departments to create the projects that you're working on. But now with the different teams, we're not as siloed anymore. So we have to understand how to share the values in between different departments or different teams or councils or committees, and have transparent goals so everybody is on the same page when they're working together. And have open communication. So you've got information flowing from department to department, team to team, committee to committee. So everybody is focused on the same goals and creating results. So the 5 behaviors personal development, we've been working with the 5 behaviors team development, but now we've got the personal development. So it helps infuse organizations with a culture of teamwork by harnessing the power of Patrick Lencioni's model, one team and one person at a time. It creates a culture within the teams, so it helps individuals be more empowered. It helps create a culture that is focused on collaboration and results. So what's the difference between the two? So there's, it can be kind of confusing. There's the 5 behaviors team development, and now there's a 5 behaviors personal development. So the team development, each person completes an assessment asking questions about the team. And during the results then are given during a facilitation meeting where they can see, is there trust? Is the trust good? In this instance, the first one, the trust is not good. So that is the basis for any team, is having vulnerability-based trust. And then focusing on conflict, having productive conflict, commitment to the goals, and then holding each other accountable for the end results. Then after a few months or a few weeks, we have them complete the assessment again, and they can compare and see where they've made improvements, where they need to continue making improvements. And we've done this before where it's been pretty much all red on the left-hand side the first time they complete the assessment, and all green on the right. And there's such a sense of accomplishment, and everybody is driven even more to be a cohesive team. And then on the personal side, so now with the personal development program, it focuses on the tendencies and preferences that relate to each construct. And then it helps the person on the personal level overcome barriers related to each construct and to be more successful on their teams. The other differences, the team development focuses on the team dysfunctions and how they can improve, whereas the personal development focuses on the individual and how they are effective on the team. The team development creates a team credo. So we always have each team create a promise to each other, and they review that each time they get together in a meeting. And the personal development expands that person's team effectiveness to the whole organization. And the team development empowers one team at a time. The personal development empowers a collaborative organizational team culture. So those are the major differences, and Michelle's going to talk about the profile and how each person, the benefits that they can get out of it. Here's Michelle.
Great, thanks, Dana. Yeah, so you're trying to figure out which one would be most appropriate. If you have a team that's got some issues, I would definitely recommend the original Team Development. But if you're just wanting to expose people in general or create a culture of teamwork, I think this is going to be an exciting tool to consider. So let's take a look at the results of Sabina Spencer. We have no idea who she is. It's just the sample that they gave us. You'll see that it's divided into several sections. The first section basically introduces you to the 5 behaviors model, whether you've had exposure to it or not. Then you look at, based on the results of your responses, how you tend to play or contribute to a team. And then it builds upon each behavior to the next. And as Dana mentioned, Patrick was very intentional in creating a pyramid to illustrate these models, because you can't resolve conflict if you don't have an established trust. And then the last, what we really like, is the fact that this tool not only helps awareness, but it changes behavior. So there's a summary of learning, and then encourages action planning to change behavior and get better results. I apologize if you're hearing our lawnmower. I have a home-based business, and this is the day that they're apparently mowing. So let's turn into page 2. Page 2 gives you an introduction to the 5 behaviors model and takes a look at how really no one really knows how you are as a team member. You know yourself far better than anyone else. So based on the results of the assessment, it will basically indicate how you stack up as it relates to the 5 behaviors. So a cohesive team is one who trusts one another, engages in conflict around ideas, commits to decisions, holds each other accountable, and focuses on achieved results. So let's take a look at what this tool provides. There on page 3 is the start of the narration. And one of the reasons why we like to use assessed learning experiences, no one can argue with their own data. So on this page, you'll be asked to go through and put a check mark next to things that you feel are true about you, X mark anything that you don't feel fits you, or question mark things that surprise you. But anytime we find this is happening, we ask other people to give them insight, because you'll be surprised to know how others see you might not necessarily be the way you see yourself. Then it starts to dig deeper into the 5 behaviors. So the first being trust. On page 4 is an introduction to the value of building trust. So it starts with a basic definition. It means that it's a willingness to be completely vulnerable with one another, to let your guard down, admit your flaws, and ask for help. And then from the assessment tool, you learn more about what might be holding you back from being vulnerable. So there on page 5, what we like about the tool is that it really helps to introduce what's called emotional intelligence. In other words, pursuing the why. Why might Sabrina be holding back? Well, there's 4 reasons. 1, she might be fearful of disapproval. She might not share something about herself because she might feel others perceive her as being naive. She doesn't want to lose influence, or she anticipates a negative reaction. So it really starts to look at trust from the inside out. Then at the bottom are some other ways that she might be holding herself back. Again, more for just a self-awareness. Then let's take a look at how then do you build trust. On the next page, and each unit or each behavior is built the same, it starts to make suggestions for building good trust habits, because as you know, good habits lead to good behavior. Bad habits bring bad behavior. So there's 3 suggestions. One way would be to create space for people to admit their mistakes and weaknesses. So let's say that Sabrina is a manager and she has a team, and oftentimes they don't feel comfortable acknowledging that they've made a mistake because of maybe her reaction. Another suggestion would be to not take any feedback that someone gives to her personally. We oftentimes help people use a code word called Q-tip. So Q-tip stands for quit taking it personal. So maybe she needs to realize that when people offer suggestions or comments, they're really trying to help her. And then another strategy for building good trust habits is for her to be willing to apologize for her mistakes. You know, maybe she missed a deadline. Maybe she made an error. And by having others see her vulnerability, they will in turn trust her more, and it will build trust amongst her team. Then on page 7, we start exploring trust, or conflict, which is the second behavior. On page 7, first of all, there's an awareness of how to connect trust with conflict, because you can't have productive conflict without open, vulnerability-based trust. So it helps create that link and how that impacts Sabrina. Page 8 will then start helping her understand the value of conflict. And I find in working with organizations, teams, leaders, they really shy away from resolving conflict because of maybe a bad experience with conflict. They think it's something that will only make things worse. Well, one of the things that this tool helps people realize is conflict is enough amongst itself not bad, but how you deal with it can be. So this tool at the bottom helps her understand how she naturally contributes to conflict. It seems like Sabrina is very expressive of her opinions. And what causes her stress is that she may not be willing to bring up conflict to the source, but she might talk to somebody else about conflict. And one of the things that we talk about is the meeting after the meeting. She needs to realize that if she has strong feelings or opinions, she needs to be bold enough or confident enough to talk about them with the people and can make a meaningful change. So on page 9 is the model that Patrick uses. It's called the continuum of conflict continuum. And there's 2 extremes. For instance, there might be a team that goes around in artificial harmony, where you, oh, sorry, that's my dog. Once again, sometimes the dogs like to contribute to the conversation and cause us a little conflict. So thank you, Dana, for helping calm him down. So there could be everything from harmony, where you don't really talk about your conflict, yet there's artificial harmony. On the other spectrum, or on the other continuum, there's what Patrick calls hell, where anytime there's conflict, there's arguments, there's debates, there's an unproductive or unhealthy approach to conflict. And where he really likes to bring teams to is right in the middle, where in the case of Sabrina, she is both a spirited debater as well as a calm debater. And then the other perspective of conflict is, to what degree do you stay open to ideas, being receptive, and to what degree are you more steadfast or standing firm on your own opinions? So again, the idea being is in the middle of this continuum. Then on page 10, there are some suggestions for her to start developing some conflict habits. Just like in trust, there's 3 strategies. She needs to speak up, even though it might mean that someone may be surprised, or even maybe you hit a sensitive or an emotional chord. Be willing to solicit ideas of others, so that if she is a supervisor, I find that in meetings, oftentimes the same people always talk. So you need to learn how to reach out to those people that might be either too shy to express their opinions, or might withhold information during a meeting, but has that meeting after the meeting. And then the third structure, a third suggestion, is to make sure that conflict is around ideas and that there isn't a personal attack. You know, it's not about whether you like the person at work or not, but you have to learn how to resolve differences of opinions or ideas. Then you move into the third commitment. So again, on page 11, you'll see you're continuing to build upon resolution of conflict, to making sure that you have a clear understanding of what is commitment and how that impacts her. On page 12, the definition of commitment is when you have clarity around decisions and you move forward with complete buy-in from every member of the team, which means you may not have consensus, but at least you originally agree to move forward. And what that takes is 2 things. At the bottom of this page, you'll see that there is an element of clarity. So you really have to understand where people are coming from, or why a policy or procedure needs to be complied with, even though you may agree to disagree. And then the last part is buy-in. And here's the example. If many of you are in a middle management position, in other words, you're a supervisor or you're a director or a manager of a department, you are what we oftentimes refer to as stuck in the middle. You have to be compliant or in line with what senior management expects of you, at the same time honoring the needs and the opinions of your team. But what's really, really important is to make sure that you are aligned and in agreement as a leadership team. So in other words, just like kids with parents, if they know mom and dad aren't on the same page, they will quickly help to alienate or build a divider between the husband and wife. Same too with employees. If they don't feel leaders are all on the same page, it will quickly deteriorate the culture. Page 13 then talks about what are then some of her barriers to commitment, how she might not be seeking clarity, and why might it be hard for her not to buy in. And so again, taking a look at it from the inside out. Do you or have you ever had those thoughts and then reactions to commitment? On page 14, how then can she develop more productive commitment habits? Once again, 3 strategies. Slow down to ensure that there's clarity, whether you understand or whether you understand others. Make sure that everybody has a chance to air their doubts or concerns. You know, I would always say if you're uncomfortable during the meeting, make sure that people feel that it's safe to disagree with you. And finally, make sure that they are supporting decisions after the meeting and you don't sabotage agreement after the meetings. The 4th behavior of a cohesive team talks about the big A, accountability. In fact, I was just working with a client moving into their 2nd year of a service excellence initiative. And this year, they're really going to focus on accountability. They're going to refer to it as shared accountability, which means that not only do you need to hold yourself accountable to do what's expected of you in your job, but you also have to be brave enough to hold others accountable. And so what that looks like on page 15 is building from your commitment or shared expectations and being willing to call people out if they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And I always ask people, how many of you want to know if you're doing a good job? And I really think balanced feedback is important. You know, people like to know when they're doing a good job or thank you for your help with that project. And then I ask, well, how many of you want to know if you're not doing a good job? And all hands go up. So what that means is we want to know directly rather than knowing that somebody's talking around our back. And if it helps you think about yourself as a coach versus someone who disciplines, you know, if you have to discipline someone, the goal is to change behavior. But when you think about yourself as a coach, you're saying to yourself and that person, you are a good person. Maybe you haven't been given proper training or education or support to do the job, but you've got potential. You can do things better, and that's why I'm here to coach you. Then page 16 helps Sabrina know how to embrace accountability. What it means is to give team members the opportunity to change their behavior and how she can better handle conflict, both from a positive, productive, as well as a constructive perspective. Then again, using the continuum, where the dot means on the scale of keeping the peace to addressing problems. And again, the idea is to be somewhere in the middle where you have problems and you're willing to have people accept them and change to be more productive, as well as on the second half of this page, to what degree are you aware of people's feelings and sticking to logic? You know, one of the issues that my client this week is dealing with is a new dress code, no jeans, even if it's colored. And it's being, as you could imagine, being met with a lot of resistance. But the reason that they're doing so is for their quest to be a 5-star facility. And the idea is if they're truly going to be a 5-star organization, they need to look, they need to act according to a 5-star standard. On page 18, how then can she better embrace accountability? What habits she needs to embrace? So there's 3 suggestions: accepting questions, She needs to call out people that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing and follow through with any commitments that she's made to help hold people accountable and maybe even provide some training. And then the last behavior of a cohesive team is one that focuses on results. Page 19 talks about the bridge between accountability and results. And one of the things that we do when we work with teams is we help them create a dashboard. Now, we use dashboards in our car to help us stay within the speed limit, or make sure we don't run out of gas, or make sure that we have a healthy volume of oil. And likewise, an organization needs to have some way of monitoring their progress. And we not only help our clients, but we also use a dashboard on a quarterly basis to monitor our progress in achieving our annual strategic goals. So each quarter, I ask Dana to populate our dashboard to know, are we exceeding, or do we have some work to do to achieve our end results? Then page 20 gives a general definition of what is results, so that it's one in which the team is focused on a collective, not an individual outcome. And at the bottom, what are Sabina's motivators? What motivates her to work together as a team? And what are some of her stressors? And one of the things that I'm picking up from this assessment of Sabina is that she enjoys working well with others. She likes getting feedback. However, number 3 says she enjoys initiating projects. So whether she is a manager of a team, if she's not, this could be a good opportunity for her to maybe either work on a project team, like Dana said. In our workplace, we not just have departments as a team, we have project teams, we have process improvement teams. So this would be a good opportunity for her to better utilize her talents within a team, because she also enjoys inspiring others. Then the next page, as we've done on all other 5 dimensions, here are some suggestions for her to develop good results habits. So make sure that you help others focus on the end result, take failures seriously, so as a team you succeed as well as you struggle collectively, and that you help the team realize that you've got to look at the big picture. Why are we here? So whether you're a healthcare organization, you're a bank, or an insurance company, what are we doing to help better serve our customers? And then the last page in this tool is a summary of all of the different behaviors and creating a what's next. So you'll see the example here on the screen that talks about one of the behaviors that she needs to focus first is that of trust. And if it feels like we've gone through this fairly quickly, one of the best ways that we think you can learn is to experience it yourself. So whether you want to do it on your own, with or without a group, we're offering a discount. So it's normally $110 per person, but we're going to give you a 25% discount of $83 through the end of September. I recently did it, and it really is insightful. So whether I'm thinking of my work team or a client team or a project team, it applies those behaviors to your contribution to a team. And if you are interested in wanting to bring this program to the organization, we're happy to give you a discount off of our fee through the end of the year, and it can be applied or scheduled anytime throughout the next year, 2020. And Dana attached the program description called Me to We, Your Impact on a Team. So whether it's a team in general for the organization or an actual team itself. So in closing, we encourage you to mark on your calendars our next month's topics. We once again are holding these 3 times, 30 minutes in length, and we encourage you not to watch alone. So forward the schedule on to your coworkers, family, and friends. Next month, we're going to be looking at strategic planning to recharge and focus your leaders. In November, we're going to dig deeper into conflict with a program called Confidence with Conflict. And then the last month, we're actually got a guest speaker who's phenomenal, who's going to be focusing in on you being intentional with your development. As always, please take a couple of minutes at the close of our webinar to give us feedback, not only about your experience, but because we're going to be looking at making the topics for next year, We would love to have your suggestions for future topics that would be of value for you and your organization. So in closing, Dana and I both thank you for making time to join us today, and we wish you and others a great day this weekend and the duration.